The air was thick with the scent of pine and defiance as I stood on the porch of my off-grid cabin, the only home I'd ever built with my own hands. My name's Eli, and this patch of land in the Karen Valley was my sanctuary far from the manicured lawns and petty rules of the Karen Homeowners Association. They'd been eyeing my property for years, calling it an eyesore that ruined their vision of a pristine, upscale community. Today, they'd come with a bulldozer, a lawyer, and Margaret, the HOA president whose smile was sharper than a snake's bite. Margaret stepped forward, her designer heels sinking into the dirt. "Eli, your shack violates Code 47B. It's coming down today," she said, waving a clipboard like a royal decree. Behind her, Richard, her smug deputy, smirked, his hand resting on the arm of a bulldozer driver itching to start. I clenched my fists, the weight of my hammer still warm in my palm from fixing a loose plank that morning. This cabin wasn't just wood and nail sit was my late wife's dream, every board a memory of her laughter. "You've got no claim here," I said, voice steady but boiling inside. "This land's mine, free and clear." Margaret laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "We've annexed this area, Eli. You're on HOA turf now." The bulldozer's engine roared to life, a mechanical beast ready to devour my home. My heart pounded, but I wasn't backing down. Not today. Not ever. The standoff stretched on, neighbors gathering at a distance, whispering. Then, a new figure emerged from the crowd. Clara, a quiet widow who'd lived on the valley's edge for decades. She was nobody's idea of a hero, with her gray hair and trembling hands, but she carried a worn leather folder that caught everyone's eye. "Wait!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the tension. Margaret froze, annoyed. Clara shuffled forward, her eyes blazing with a fire I'd never seen. "Eli's not the one breaking rules here," she said, opening the folder to reveal yellow documents. The twist hit like a thunderclap. Clara's papers proved I didn't just own my land, I owned the deed to the Karen HOA's prized luxury clubhouse, the crown jewel of their community. My wife had bought it years ago as a silent investment, a fact I'd forgotten in my grief. The HOA had been leasing it from a trust they didn't know traced back to me. Margaret's face drained of color as Clara read the terms aloud. Any attempt to seize my property voided their lease, transferring ownership to me immediately. Richard stammered, "This is absurd. We'll fight this in court." But the crowd was shifting, their whispers turning to murmurs of outrage. These were their neighbors, people who'd paid thousands in HOA fees, now realizing their leaders had overreached. The bulldozer driver shut off the engine, sensing the tide turning. I stepped closer to Margaret, holding her gaze. "You tried to bury me," I said, "but you dug your own grave." The victory should have felt sweet, but it didn't. I looked at the faces around me, some angry, some ashamed, some just tired. The HOA had ruled this valley with fear, pitting neighbor against neighbor, and I just exposed their house of cards. Clara, the unexpected hero, handed me the folder and whispered, "Your wife would be proud." I nodded, throat tight, but the weight of her words only deepened the ache. My cabin was safe, but at what cost? The community was fractured, trust shattered. That night, I sat on my porch, the clubhouse deed in my hands. I could sell it, bankrupt the HOA, or turn it into something NAWA community center, maybe where people could gather without fear of rules or bulldozers. But the bitterness lingered. Margaret and Richard would face their reckoning, but the valley would never be the same. My wife's dream had survived, but the fight had torn open wounds I didn't know I carried. The stars above were bright, indifferent to the mess below. I thought of Clara, her courage born from years of watching silently. I thought of Margaret, whose hunger for control had blinded her to the truth. And I thought of my neighbors, caught in the crossfire of a war they didn't start. The cabin stood, but the victory was hollow, a reminder that power unchecked breeds only pain. What would you do if your home was threatened by those meant to protect your community? Share your thoughts on justice, trust, and the cost of standing your ground.